Welcome to this special edition of our detox series at Cancer is Curable Now. I'm Marcus Freudenmann, your host. I'm actually really excited to introduce a concept which we call epigenetics into a healing program. And we all know from Dr. Bruce Lipton that epigenetics, above the genes, turns genes on and turns genes off. And one of the top examples are those two identical twins. Those two mice behind me, the agouti mice, which is pretty obvious that they are not identical, at least they don't look like, but they were born as identical twins. Now, one of these mice was fed with bisphenol A containing foods. Very simple, plastics, you know, the plastic that your children play with and put in their mouth and chew on, you know, to build out their teeth. Or they drink out of baby bottles and then you put contact lenses in full with BPA. You have your water bottles. It's shocking. Plastics and BPA and lining within tin cans, it's all around us. So as soon as we consume that, you can see the yellow mouse. Well, it's obese and has high risk of diabetes and many other genetic problems just by consuming one of these toxins. Wow, think about, we have 80,000 toxins. When you think back at the Environmental Health Group, which has tested the 10 American babies, they had 280 tested, in average 280 toxins in every baby. Neurotoxins, endocrine disruptors, you know, like all of those neurotoxins which cause a lot of damage. So it's not just BPA, it's a lot more that we have to deal with every day. Now these toxins turn on tumor genes. They are called mutagenics. They actually change the DNA expression and through that cause cancer, tumors, and you know, many parents give birth to children who have already brain tumors and cancers at very young age. It's because they already inherited these toxins, plus, and this is the next step, which is really, you know, like mind-blowing, they inherit the impairment of your genetic expression. Now, let's just say you have a diabetes gene, like the mouse back here, and it's turned off, which means even though you eat sugar, you don't get diabetes right away. If you abuse it over a lifetime, well, certainly you turn this gene on and then you get diabetic as well. If you have parents who already were diabetics and they have this diabetes gene turned on and they produce you, well, then you can inherit one, you know, which is then giving you a risk factor and you're already 50% impaired. You have already this gene activated. But if they give both a diabetes gene to you, activated gene to you, well, then you have 100% diabetes genes activated, which means you just eat a little bit of sugar, even as a small child, well, straight away you turn diabetic. This is just one example out of, you know, thousands of genetic expressions. I just want you to understand the concept, which means we inherit the impairment of our parents. Now, if you destroy certain functions which are triggered by those genes, then with epigenetic lifestyle choices, well, then you pass them on to your children. Which means if you're ignorant, your parents were ignorant, your grandparents were ignorant, you just, you know, spray Roundup, you use all the toxins, you drink out of plastic, you use the microwave, you have your mobile phone, you know, like the whole EMF story, everything we've covered in the first chapters of our book, you know, the first 160 pages, then you realize that you impair many of your genetic expressions. They have impaired it, so we're dooming the future. It's actually really just moving on into a more sick, more impaired future generations. And then we wonder why they have a lower life expectancy, why they are sick already at young age, why we have now cancer rates increasing already in age groups of 20 and 30-year-old women. You know, there is something wrong and we need to learn and we need to understand that. And that's all because we pass on the impairment of those genes to the next generation. Now, they taken this mouse and started to feed it with healthy food. And if I say healthy, they actually pinpoint exactly what type of nutrient, what type of food would reactivate these slow down these obesity and diabetes genes. What type of nutrients would be necessary to reduce that expression? And when they did that, the mouse got better, was living longer, but that was not really the main result. The mega result that was really astounding the whole society was that their offspring was actually healthy. The offspring did not have this impairment of that gene. They were slim, brown, healthy, like the twin sister, which wasn't exposed to all the toxins, which means we can actually heal the future. We have the ability to transform this whole knowledge that we gain today through science, through insights, through all this research that is available to us into a healthy future. And I really found this amazing. You know, like I might help myself to heal and to live a better life, but if I take that into a younger generation and I say to my children, you know, like, look, that's your genetic profile, that's your expression, that's the problems that you have, that's what doesn't work very well, that what works extremely well. Well, then let's focus on those things which we can increase. How we change your dietary profile so that we heal all those elements. First of all, that you don't get sick when you get older, which is a very big part. And secondary, that you will have healthy children, that you will grow into a future which is not doomed by ignorance, which is actually enlightened by knowledge. And I would like to ask you to join me in that program, because if we work together, we can heal the future. We can transform this whole concept of disease into a generation of knowledge and health, right? We have planned a whole series of interviews to bring this point really home to you: how to heal yourself, how to heal your children, how to create a healthy future, by a series of interviews with experts who've been working in this field quite intense. The first one will be with Dr. Cheryl Seelman, who will share with you her experience, how she applied all those tests and used them to help a lot of patients to really have a targeted, very clear, focused treatment protocol. You know, you eliminate the whole concept of hit and miss and trial and error and does it work. If you have cancer, you can't afford, to try out, does it work? Is the Gerson good for me? Is it not? We know for some it works, for some it doesn't. Well, why is that so? Well, that's what you can read out of that genetic profile. And how do I detoxify? You know, that was how we got to this whole information. Well, some people detoxify extremely well and others not. They need a lot of bridges. They need a lot of help to actually detoxify and break down toxins in their liver. And that's what we can find through this test. And as we know how to read it and how to understand it, we're completely in charge of our healing program. So look out. Tomorrow I'll send you the first video with Dr. Cheryl Seelman, and then we have a whole series to come which will blow your mind.